swing and a drive. Right field and deep. Back goes Aquino. It's got a chance. Gone. Get out the tape measure. Long gone.
Fly the W!
Cubs fans, it's time to fly the W with Dustin Rhodes and Paul Crawley-Jean.
This is the Fly the W podcast, episode number 345. Seiya Suzuki suffers an injury. Uh-oh, Crawley. We are proud to be part of the Blue Wire Network. Don't forget to listen, download, subscribe, most importantly, review the podcast. Follow on the socials. You can check me out, Mully and Haw on X.
And you can follow me at Crawley's Cubs on X, Blue Sky, and TikTok, and Crawley's Clubhouse on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Threads. Dustin, rough weekend for Cub fans as they lost all 3 games they played in and saw one of their most important players helped off the field during the WBC. That was brutal.
I have fingers crossed on the Seiya Suzuki thing. He's going to end up getting imaging. We're going to get into it, but maybe just a bad slide, maybe just a bruised knee is what I'm hoping, Crawley.
Little knee contusion. It's a possibility. Like everybody, this World Baseball Classic has done wonders for the game. All my kids, my wife, everybody's kind of into it. And normally it's just kind of me talking to the TV. But everybody's kind of into this, but it's a great tournament, but there's always that fear, Dustin, of injury. But I keep telling people that could happen anywhere. It could have happened in spring training.
Right.
I mean, it just happens when you're talking about athletics played at the highest level. You could tweak a hammy rounding the base like Kyle Teal did. You could hurt your knee sliding
unfortunately, right. It's either don't have spring training then. So for all the people that are like, oh, the World Baseball Classic is so dangerous. Okay, well then cancel all the spring training games. I mean, maybe he wouldn't have been stealing in a spring training game, but now he's patrolling center field. Maybe the good news is Japan's out, right? So he's got some time to heal up. Let's see. Before we get too crazy about it, it sucks, right? Let's be honest. On the surface, it sucks. But until we know, we can't be totally ticked off about it.
Yeah, and the sky's not falling. And you can't be ticked off for something that just happened. I mean, you can't control that. Can't control a lot of what happens in sports. And so, it did happen, though, in Team Japan's shocking loss to Venezuela. We're going to cover that more in segment 3. First inning, Seiya Suzuki draws a 1-out walk. And after Masataka Yoshida struck out for the second out, Seiya decided to steal second to get into scoring position. And Dustin, I think we got to get Quentin Berry on here, third base coach, running coach, because that slide.
Well, that's a whole other part of it, right? I mean, it was ugly, Crawley. It was ugly. It was awful. It looked like he had never slid before. Like it was like the first time he had decided to slide.
I mean, it looked like a fat man doing a belly flop from the high dive. That's what it looked like to me.
If we're going to be really honest.
I mean, that just looked like it hurt. He had to be helped off the field. I seen now Bruce Levine and I saw Patrick Mooney all saying that he's going to get the imaging. But here is what Craig Counsell, the skipper of your Chicago Cubs, had to say about Seiya Suzuki.
What do you know about Seiya and his knee?
Yeah, not much. I mean, we need to see him, I think, is probably the best. He's on a flight back here. Lands sometime later today, late this afternoon. I think it's going to take us through tomorrow, probably to figure out, to get our hands on Seiya and see what's going on. So I think it's just best we wait and see instead of wait and see and let our doctors and trainers take a look at him and see what's going on.
Did he undergo any testing before flying? Okay.
No.
What was your reaction when you saw it?
Well, yeah, I mean, you never want to see your players come out of a game. Yeah, and you're not going to have all the information, so we just got to wait. There's nothing we can do but wait.
Tick.
That's I think what you talked about a little bit there, Dustin. But
wait,
when you talk about what Mooney, Yeah. So yesterday, obviously they got eliminated on Saturday. So he took a flight on Sunday. Guy got in today at camp. And that's when Bruce Levine reported he saw him walking with the limp. And so after that happened, it now comes down to a matter of the doctors have ordered some MRI testing to kind of see what happens. But Dustin, the question that comes next is if Seiya is out for an extended period, we're not saying he is, if he ends up being out for a long period of time, then what? And Craig gave us a little bit of information on that.
I think it's pretty clear. It's Matt Shaw's played a lot of right field. We've moved him in the outfield, and then we've got 3 other guys that are in camp. And Conforto, Chaz, and Dylan Carlson, and then we also have Kevin on the roster. It's an area. The outfield is an area where we have the most depth, probably on the team.
I'll agree with him on that. That if you were going to lose somebody, outfield was the way to go. I mean, that you do have something, but the thing that Seiya provides that none of the other guys he mentioned provides is pop, right?
Like a lot of pop compared to those guys that we just mentioned. I mean, you're talking about Matt Shaw, who's almost no pop. You're talking about Alcantara, almost no pop. I mean, Conforto at one point had some pop, but I think he's kind of a long shot, to be honest. So yeah, I mean, they would be missing that for sure. You've got a nice list here, though, Crawley, pros and cons of each guy that the skipper mentioned.
Yeah, he talked about Matt Shaw, and the thing about Matt Shaw is even though he's playing literally every position, I'm surprised he's not cleaning the spikes too. He's been one of the best hitters during spring training. He's slashing 333, 439, 455. He's 11 for 33 with a double, a home run, 6 walks to 6 strikeouts. So he has that balance, and he leads the team in stolen bases with 6. When we talk about the negatives about Matt Shaw, he hasn't played the outfield at Wrigley Field. Now, Matt's talked about enjoying playing in the outfield and working with PCA. PCA has been helping him out. But again, that is a hard right field. I saw, again, Seiya Suzuki, he was considered a gold glover in Japan. Kyle Tucker, gold glover here in the United States. Both of those guys looked like they struggled out there. And so now you got an infielder going out there. That is going to be tough. I don't care who you are. That is going to be tough if you are an everyday right fielder, much less a converted infielder. So that's the negative on Matt Shaw. Now we talk about Dylan Carlson, former Cardinal.
Now, just really quick. Like that negative, I believe, is going to be attached basically to every guy we're talking about, right? Because Dylan Carlson, as far as playing the outfield in Wrigley, he's played it before. He's played it when he was with the Cardinals. Right,
not every day.
All right. Well, I'm just saying. My point is, like, he has not. Okay, I don't know that counts, but okay.
Well, let's go this way. Matt Shaw's not.
You can.
If we're talking about a negative, he's not a natural outfielder, and that's just
correct. He's not a natural outfielder. No.
And that's gonna. I think that adds up when you consider Wrigley because it's a hard outfield to play. If it was maybe let's say St. Louis, right field in St. Louis, I would be like, okay, not as bad. Wrigley is just it's shadows, it's sun, it's wind, it's a lot of complications that don't exist. If you told me Matt Shaw was going to play right field in Miller Park, I'd be less nervous.
Right.
Right. And so when you talk about Dylan Carlson positives, he's having a great spring training. He's slashing 357, 514, 429, 2 doubles, no home runs, 7 walks, 8 strikeouts. He has extensive experience in all 3 outfield positions, including at Wrigley Field. He has a well above average arm. He's a switch hitter, and he's only 27 years old. Now, all the guys that we're about to go through, Dylan Carlson, McCormick, Michael Conforto, they've all had injury issues that have really kind of knocked their careers off kilter, so to speak. And so to me, I really liked what I've seen from Dylan Carlson this offseason. The negatives, though, like we talked about, he is not a big home run threat. He had 18 home runs in 2021, but hasn't had double-digit home runs since then. So you're not going to get the pop from him as much. Chaz McCormick, he's a 30-year-old righty, solid outfielder in all 3 positions, decent arm. So I would say, when you're talking just defensively, I would go Dylan Carlson, then Chaz McCormick as far as 1-2. He has shown home run power in the past, not massive home run power, but double digits. He had 14 in 2021, 14 in 2022, and 22 in 2023. So he's in the 20s. but he really struggled in 24, 25. He had a hamstring injury and he just never really kind of been the same after that. And this spring he's slashing 222, 216, 389. He is 8 for 36 with 3 doubles and one home run. Dustin, he hasn't walked yet and he has 13 strikeouts.
That's not good. That's not
No.
good. That's not an eye. That's no eye.
I have not been impressed with what I've seen from Chas McCormick. Much more interested in Dylan Carlson. And then the other guy that Craig mentioned, Michael Conforto, he's had the most pop offensively. He's hit 179 career home runs in his 10-year big league career. He's a left-handed bat, slashing 261, 320, 348 this spring, 6 for 23 with 2 doubles, no home runs. But Dustin, he's the oldest at age 33. And I would say he's probably the weakest in the outfield between him.
Right.
And
I mean,
Matt
I would
Shaw.
want Matt Shaw. I would, if you're going to tell me that they would go Michael Conforto and have Matt Shaw sitting on the bench or back at Iowa, I would say that was a mistake.
Right. And again, I think that
If potential problem.
Right. If Seiya goes on the IL, if it's a close game at the end, I don't want to see either Matt Shaw or Michael Conforto out there, to be honest with you. I mean, that's when you would sit there and then you'd say, okay, Dylan, jump in. You're going to be playing defense. You're going in for your defense.
Right.
Now,
or
Kevin
it's the next
Alcantara,
guy, right? Or it's the next guy we're talking about.
well,
right?
Kevin Alcantara is an interesting one just because he's probably has the highest ceiling of all these guys as far as an outfielder is concerned. He can play all 3 outfield spots at a high level. He has a high ceiling. He does have pop. I mean, he can hit it out. He slashes 292, 346, 333. He's 7 for 24 with a double, no home runs. Dustin, he also has speed, which Matt Shaw also has. But we don't know if he can succeed in the majors. He played a little bit last year and was injured, had a groin injury. He has a lot of swing and miss in his game. He has 10 strikeouts this spring and only 1 walk. So
really waiting on this guy. Really waiting on this guy.
He's got to bust through. And Brett Bateman's another name. I don't know if he's ready yet. He's also going to be, he's playing the lineup for tonight. Cubs are playing under the lights. He's another one that's just kind of like on the outskirts, but just kind of looking.
I don't get that though, right? You're already talking about the lineup for tonight that's out there, and that's great that it's out there and we can consume it. But why in the world is Matt Shaw not playing every possible, game, out there? I don't get it. I don't get it.
It's tough because they got to get him everywhere. They just don't know how they're going to use him. They have to get the reps.
And again, you mentioned a name that, I mean, you'd have to, you got to be a Crowley plus to know that name starting tonight in right field for the Cubs.
It's Crowley plus, but I think that all in all, it should be interesting. But when you look at the lineup for tonight, they got Carlson in left, you got Alcantara in right, and then Bateman in center. So yeah, that Bateman's an interesting one. Don't kind of,
okay.
I know.
Don't rest on Bateman.
Don't rest on him. I know I'm kind of prospect perving here right now, but he's a guy that's kind of interesting. So we'll kind of watch and see. But before the injury, Craig had mentioned you got to get as many at bats equally distributed. Even though it looks like right now Matt Shaw needs to play right field. He also this is the time that he's going to get his reps at first base, and that's the position he's had the least amount of reps in. So they got to get it in there. As bad as the Seiya news is, there is some good news on Justin Steele. On Friday morning, his teammates, his coaches, medical staff were watching Dustin because for the first time in nearly a year, he pitched to live hitters. So he threw 19 pitches to Michael Busch and Johnny Long. He got 3 strikeouts, 2 fly balls. Here is what Justin Steele had to say about his recovery so far.
No, just another box to check. Felt good today. That's the main thing. Walking away from it feeling good. Throwing strikes, putting the fastball where I wanted to for the most part. Was excited about it.
Good.
Not in this situation. I would say in my first Tommy John, it felt that way. It was a lot more anxiety and build up to facing hitters. I would say with this one, it's kind of been smooth sailing as far as the rehab process has been going. And as soon as I started throwing bullpens, however long ago it was, I was kind of like, I feel like I could face hitters right now. It was a very similar feeling as to what it was before the surgery. So there wasn't really like an adjustment period for it. Felt good with all my pitches, but yeah.
All right, that's a positive, Dustin. I'll take that, right?
Yep, nothing negative there.
Now, it did make me laugh, listening to Justin Steele compare the two different Tommy Johns that he had. Here's the difference in his mind.
I think with the first Tommy John surgery, there was an actual repair. Like they were changing hardware out from the original UCL. They were taking it out of my forearm. So there was like a new piece of ligament that was in my arm, and it felt like I was kind of relearning how to throw with a different arm. With this one, they're using the same hardware. They didn't have to pull a ligament from my knee or from my forearm or anything. I like calling it the hardware. The hardware was still in good enough shape to be used, so they just put a brace down and kind of fastened everything back in. So, yeah, it feels like the same arm.
Dustin, as we get older, I'm going to start using that term, the hardware, when we get our knee and hip replacements and all that fun
Changing
stuff.
out the hardware, yeah.
But it looks like this surgery was easier than the last time. He's excited. Everyone's excited. And, the question was brought up, when's he coming back? That's what everybody wants to know. And this was Steele's response.
I think we're all, myself and staff included, doing a good job of keeping a level head with all this. We're obviously very excited with where I'm at and how I'm feeling and stuff. So I could see where you're coming from as far as want to push the gas pedal and press it a little bit more. But I think we're doing a really good job of keeping a level head throughout this process.
I really like that response because sometimes athletes, Dustin, how many times have we heard that they came back from injury too early, right? I came back too early, and he's taken his time. It's not desperation. When you talk about outfielders, the Cubs have options, and pitching they have options. So I'm fine with waiting on him and just letting him be his best version of himself when he returns.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to rush it right now. They're not in desperation mode yet.
No.
And hopefully we don't get to the yet. Take your time, no rush.
Now, as we said earlier, the Cubs were 0-3 over the weekend. They lost 4-2 to the White Sox, but they didn't have a single pitcher in that game that's going to be starting on the major league roster on opening day. None.
Yeah, it's just I know that it just chaps my ass, right? It just chaps. Can we just why can't you give the fans just a little bit? And I'm not saying that Jameson Taillon wouldn't have got his lit, right? We're going to talk about that in a minute, but can we just try to line it up? Like you give a rat's rear end about the fans who spend thousands of dollars to go out there and watch that crap against the White Sox. Come on, man.
It wasn't what you expected. But Mike
stick.
Mike, hey, Ballesteros was not. Moises was 2 for 3. Michael Busch 1 for 3. No, didn't pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Did not pitch. And Miguel Amaya made his return from the World Baseball Classic going 0 for 2. He didn't get a lot of at bats, actually. Christian Bethancourt, his Cubs teammate, actually got majority of the catching for Panama. So I think Miguel needs to kind of get some more at bats, more reps in. On Saturday, the Cubs lost 4-3 to the Rockies, but they were winning 3-2 in the ninth when Grant Kipp gave up a 2-run homer to get walked off. Nico 1 for 3. Shaw 0 for 1 with 2 walks, though. Happ and Kelly 0 for 3. Dylan Carlson, Moises, Jefferson Rojas, and Kevin Alcantara were all 1 for 3, and then Kevin Alcantara was 2 for 3. We're going to talk about this, but Ben Brown was fantastic, giving up 1 run in 4 innings of work. And then on Sunday, Dustin.
I mean, Ben Brown couldn't have gone the day before. I mean,
they don't. I think they don't worry too much about.
I know they don't care. I know they don't care. Thank you.
They are focused on the season and not the practice games. On Sunday, the Cubs got pounded by the Dodgers 14-8. It wasn't even that close. It was 14-3 going into the bottom of the ninth till the Cubs scored 5 runs, 4 on a grand slam by Devin Ortiz. Nico hit a 2-run home run. But Dustin, Jameson Taillon was a disaster once again. 10 runs on 8 hits in 3 1/3 innings. And we need to look closer at what Ben Brown did versus Jameson Taillon. And it's easy to say good versus crap on a stick, but there is more to it than just that. We've talked plenty about JMO and what's been going on this spring. We trying not to overreact, but Dustin, I mean, it's starting to get a little bit nerve-wracking here. On Sunday, he gave up 10 runs on 8 hits, 4 walks, a triple, and 2 home runs. He only struck out 2 batters. He's made 4 starts in the spring, 0 for 3. He's pitched 9 1/3 innings. He's given up 23 runs on 21 hits, 8 home runs, 7 walks, 6 strikeouts. His ERA now is old enough to drink at 22.18. Now,
I heard it was 2121, a very good album from Rush.
Oh, maybe it is. I'll double check, but
everybody's got it a little slight at this point. It's too high.
Yes, it's too high, like the rent. And we've talked about not panicking over spring training results before. But Dustin, there's a time where you do show some concern because the first few weeks, right? The first couple of weeks, pitchers are working on certain pitches. They're getting their feet on the mound, their feel on the mound. They're ramping up velocity, right? You're taking it nice and easy. You're working on some things. It's not as big a deal. But after the first few weeks, then the focus turns on building your pitch count. And, and the velocity should be roughly about where you want it to be. And you're making some corrections on some things that, you kind of have in your own mind. But right now, Jameson doesn't have anything working other than his pitch count. His velocity is down. His breaking stuff is not crisp. And he's catching way too much of the plate. Like way too many pitches are middle. And they're just getting blasted. And I'm not saying that Jameson shouldn't be in the starting rotation, not based on the results of the spring. But if he looks the same after a few weeks, especially with the cold Chicago weather, I think it's going to be 47 right now on opening day, wind blowing in. If he looks like this in Chicago, I would say the leash is very short.
Why? Yeah, I mean, why couldn't Javier Assad be in that role? Or how about, somebody that pitched the day before him, Ben Brown?
Let's talk about Ben Brown. In his start against the Rockies, he gave up a triple, a single in the first inning, and a single in the first inning. He then retired the next 10 batters he faced, giving up 1 runs on 2 hits in 4 innings with 6 strikeouts and no walks. Let me repeat that. No walks.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. No walks. That's good.
No walks. In Ben's first 2 games, he gave up no runs, 3 hits in 4 innings. No walks in either of those, 6 Ks. In his only bad start in the spring against the Padres, he gave up 3 runs on 3 hits in 2 2/3 innings, 3 strikeouts, but 3 walks. Okay. And so Dustin, he hasn't given up a home run all spring. We've been talking about, spring training home runs. Ben has not given them up. And so you're looking at this, and this is a guy that last year, up and down. He was 6.30 ERA in 15 starts, but that doesn't tell the whole story. There'd be some games where he looked brilliant and some games that he just looked awful. Okay. And in the off season, he has been working on a sinker. And last year he was working on a breaking ball, and it's made a big difference so far. And if we take a look at kind of the way that his pitches kind of came on that Saturday, he's always been known for that 4-seam fastball that touches 97 and the knuckle curve. But what you're starting to see against, especially the right-handed hitters, is he's throwing the sinker. And he's getting a lot of good whiffs on it. It's changing things up. And then against the lefty, he's using the changeup. So now he's just not a 2-pitch pitcher anymore. He's got now close to 4 pitches that are working for him. And it makes it a lot less predictable as far as what you're going to get. And so as long as he can keep his control, that's the big one right there. So as long as he can keep his control, I think I'm very curious, but if Taillon cannot get it done, you have 3 guys that are ready to step up. And Ben Brown, we saw what Colin Ray did last year. What a huge, important role he played. And you mentioned Javier Assad, who looks like he's back.
But I would give Taillon the opportunity, correct?
Yeah.
You're just not going to take it away from him.
I would
because
give
he looked okay. His start in the World Baseball Classic was decent.
It's okay. I would
decent,
say
right. It was kind of a typical Jameson Taillon start.
I'd give him 3-4 starts and just kind of play with it from there. I wouldn't go crazy right away, but yeah, 3-4 starts, see how it looks. If he looks okay, keep it rolling. But I'm telling you, if he's getting hit, if he's getting barreled the way he's been getting barreled, you can't let that continue to happen. And so hopefully, like I said, at least the Cubs have options.
This is the Fly the W podcast, part of the Blue Wire Network. It is episode 345. Seiya Suzuki suffers an injury. Don't forget to listen, download, review, and subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. 5-star review, we'll take it. Email us at Crawley's Clubhouse, gmail.com. Don't forget you can watch us on the Crawley's Clubhouse YouTube page. In this segment, we continue to preview the Cubs' NL Central opponents. This episode, we look at the Reds. Our buddy Gordon Whitmire, a beat writer from the Enquirer in Cincinnati, talks about the Reds' offseason moves and what this team will look like so far in spring training. This is episode 345 of the Fly the W podcast, part of the Blue Wire Network. Seiya Suzuki suffers an injury. we're happy that you're listening, and we want you to download. We want you to review. We want you to subscribe. We would love a 5-star review. And you can email us questions and concerns, crawleysclubhouse@gmail.com. And don't forget, you can watch us on the Crawley's Clubhouse YouTube page. All right, Crawley, let's take a look back at the WBC, which has been really, really exciting. I think living up to the hype.
Absolutely. Last time we talked, pool play ended, and we were talking a little bit about, we were previewing these quarterfinals, and I think all in all, Dustin, that they delivered. Quarterfinal 1 was kind of meh. Powerhouse Dominican Republic took on Korea, and it wasn't much of a game. The DR pounced on the Koreans' pitching staff. You know, they don't throw with a lot of heat, and against that Dominican lineup, you're going to pay. So, you know, they got a lot of hits whenever, and there was tons of walks. The DR was taking a ton of walks. And so they pounded on the Korean pitching staff until Austin Wells hit a 3-run home run in the 7th to end the game by mercy rule, 10-0. So that
I love that they have mercy rule in like a professional type setting. It's hilarious to me.
When you looked at that, yeah, you don't want anyone to get hurt. And I mean, basically,
no. I mean, I think I think it's actually a good thing. I mean, in all seriousness, you might want to bring that into like Major League Baseball during the regular season, so we don't have to have third baseman and reserve outfielders throwing.
The old position players pitching. The quarterfinal 2, though, Dustin,
disrespecting the game.
Yeah, the second quarterfinal was, fans were interested to see how the U.S. would respond after losing to Italy in pool play and nearly being eliminated. Alex Bregman and PCA were in the lineup. USA manager Mark DeRosa sticking with PCA's hot streak, and it paid off. U.S. got up 3-0 early. Alex Bregman drove in 2 on a single and an error by third baseman Abraham Toro. The U.S. extended their lead to 5-0 with back-to-back RBI singles by Bryce Terang and PC America. But the Canadians struck back in the bottom of the inning, scoring 3 runs, highlighted by a Bo Naylor 2-run blast. Then in the 7th, Dustin, David Bednar comes in, gives a back-to-back singles, and Cal Raleigh gets charged with a pass ball. That puts runners at 2nd and 3rd, no outs. Tying run at 2nd, no out. But Bednar comes back and gets Josh Naylor to pop out, and Tyler O'Neill and former Cub Owen Casey to strike out to end the threat. U.S. holds on to win 5-3, but that was not the decisive victory that people were expecting. The Canadians
They were a 4.5 run favorite in this game, Crawley. Ooh. And they were a minus 1,000 on the money line, meaning you had to bet $1,000 to win $100.
It was close. Like I said, Bednar was in that jam right there. Yep. Now, quarterfinal 3, the Cinderella team of the tournament, Team Italy taking on Puerto Rico. The team Puerto Rico strikes first. Former Cub and leadoff hitter Willie Castro leads off the game with the home run. That lead did not last long as that relentless Italian offense continues to pile on the runs. They scored 4 in the first, 4 in the 4th to put Italy up 8-2. Team Puerto Rico fought back with 4 in the 8th to close the game to 8-6. 2 on, 2 out for Nolan Arenado, who represented the go-ahead run, but Arenado would ground out to end the threat. And Team Italy advances to the semis for the first time in WBC history.
Yeah, they had that machine working, right? They had that coffee machine working.
The espresso machine and the Versace jacket.
Yeah. I appreciate the guys getting dressed up to go to work. That I'm down with.
I gotta tell you, I mean, everyone's loving Team Italy. When they win, they play Andrea Botticelli instead of like a Go Cubs Go. I mean, they are having a lot of fun, and that's what I love about this. And then quarterfinal number 4 saw the tournament favorites, Samurai Japan, taking on Team Venezuela, still licking their wounds after a tough pool game loss to the Dominican. The game started off with fireworks, Dustin. Leadoff hitter for Venezuela, Ronald Acuna, hits a leadoff home run. And then Team Japan's leadoff hitter, Shohei Ohtani, answers with the leadoff homer of his own to tie the game.
Isn't that amazing?
I mean, that guy is just ridiculous. And the good times didn't last, though, for Japan, because right after that home run, 2 batters later, that was after Seiya Suzuki left the game with an injury. His replacement, Shota Morishita, homered, and Japan took a 5-2 lead. Top of the 5th, Team Venezuela answers. Mikhail Garcia hits a 2-run homer to make it a 1-run game. Top of the 6th, Waleer Abreu hits a 3-run blast. And just like that, the Venezuelans took a 7-5 lead. And I'm watching this game, Dustin, and as it's going on, I'm like, you could see the stress in the Japanese player's face. They knew it. And sure enough, Team Japan goes down 8-5. How stunned were you that the defending champions were eliminated?
But I love that Daniel Palencia got in some really great work, and he ends up inducing the the guy who never fails, it seems like, right? Shohei Ohtani, and he gets him to pop up for the final out. That's awesome. That's the good part of the WBC. It does let guys, train for big situations. And that was a big moment for him, and he delivered. I loved watching that.
And then the excitement afterwards. And like you said, you can't replicate that adrenaline that's going on at that very moment. So
absolutely not. No.
If the Cubs are where we're hoping they are, which is in the postseason, your expectation is Daniel Palencia is your closer.
Right. He can take the ball in a big moment right now. Looks like it to me. I couldn't think of a bigger moment to put him in. Right. That's as big as it gets until we move on to Sunday night, the WBC semifinal. That would have been another big moment, but thankfully he's not on Team USA. And, he was, maybe he'll have a big moment tonight. Right. There's a chance he could have a big moment tonight against Team Italy.
Yeah, like I said, I love that for Daniel, and I knew it was in him, and he's doing great. Sunday night, Dustin, was the matchup everyone was waiting for. This is the two powerhouse lineups. And when you think about this lineups, the question was asked during the pregame and stuff, has there ever been a greater lineup in a game that actually was going to be seriously competitive? Okay, because the USA
not an all-star game, right? That's not an all-star game.
USA's taken this serious. The Dominican has always taken it serious. When you look at the USA, Bobby Witt Jr., Bryce Harper, Aaron Judge, Kyle Schwarber, Gunnar Henderson, Will Smith, Roman Anthony, Bryce Terang, and PCA with Paul Skeens starting. And then you go and take a look at the lineup of the Dominicans of Tatis, Marte, Soto, Vladdy Guerrero Jr., Machado, Caminero, Rodriguez, Wells, Perdomo. I mean, that is absolutely ridiculous. And Dustin, sometimes games like that don't live up to the hype. This to me was a game that had, like I said, my wife and my son, they're kind of just like average fans, like kind of like, they'll watch it because I'm watching it or whatever. They were on the edge of their seats watching this game.
Yeah. And for a 2-1 game, I'm usually not down with that. That was a great 2-1 contest. That was a great 2-1 contest. Had a little bit of everything. All the offense coming on the home runs, had some great defensive plays, had some controversial plays, had some, pitchers coming in that you really hadn't heard of before. At least I hadn't really heard of before, coming in big moments, stopping minor scoring chances. Both teams left a handful of guys on base. Really, really fun game to watch.
Absolutely. And Junior Caminero just looked fantastic. Bottom of the second, he hits a home run to put the DR up 1-0. But Dustin, I think the interesting to me is, okay, they're up 1-0, third inning, right? You got Fernando Tatis. He's on with 2 outs, and all of a sudden, Ketel Marte hits one, and you would think Tatis could make first to third, no problem. He gets gunned down by Aaron Judge. Rise up. All rise on that one. And he did a little gun thing on that. I mean, that was unbelievable. And I feel like that was a momentum shift, because the top of the fourth, right after that happens, Gunnar Henderson, who was playing instead of Alex Bregman, everyone's kind of like, hey, what are you doing, Mark DeRosa? He was right. Yep. So give him credit.
Press the right buttons on that one. I didn't like it when I first saw it, but it ended up being the right button to push.
He hits a solo home run. Will Smith lines out, and then Roman Anthony homers. And so the 2-1, and you're thinking to yourself, there's no way the score is going to stay that way. It just not going to happen. I mean, you had the bases loaded for Austin Wells. That was in the bottom of the fourth, and Paul Skeens got him to fly out to strand the bases. You just had to exhale after that one. Then you look at the fifth, you had 2 on for Juan Soto. He grounds into a double play. And then once again, when you talk about David Bednar, he had another interesting inning where, he had guys on second and third, right? And so that was, he strikes out Fernando Tatis and Ketel Marte. But Dustin, you said that there was a little bit of controversy, and boy,
just a little bit, Crawley, just a little bit.
You hate to see it, but there's a bad strikeout call at Giovanni Soto. There's no one on, but it's a big game. And you take a look at pitch number 4, called strike, not even close. And then you get to the end of the game, Dustin, and that's where
now we're talking about 2 different. Yeah, that was a different one. But yeah, the end of the game. I mean, it's got to be tough. I know these guys are trained to do what they're to do, but I can't imagine standing behind a catcher and trying to watch 102-mile-an-hour pitch and try to figure out ball or strike when it has that kind of drop on it.
Yeah, that was.
But again,
tough
the tool you're using, Crowley. The question is, why was ABS? Why was this not part of the World Baseball Classic? I get in the beginning because they have to figure out how to, get a hold of all the measurements and whatnot for the games played in Asia. Okay. But this game, the semifinals and finals are played in good old US of A. They're played in the Miami Marlins ballpark. So they've got all the equipment ready to go. You can't tell me this was like a CBA thing or something negotiated. It's just silly to have the ability to get this kind of stuff right and not use what we have to get the job done the proper way. And I mean, I get it. It would have gone against Team USA. Who knows what would have happened after that? But I just don't understand why they wouldn't have used it last night. And they're not going to use it tonight. They're not going to use it Tuesday night in the final. And that doesn't make any sense.
It really doesn't. And it's unfortunate. This has been used in the minor leagues for a few years. You know what you needed to do. You knew the WBC was coming up. You could have been more prepared. It really is a shame that it ends like that, because you don't want people talking about that because that's the conversation now. Instead of us talking about what a great game it was, the headline is the umps messed it up. And it's really hard to argue that the umps didn't mess it up. I mean, I think the ball went over the plate. It was low. The ball did go over the plate. And it could be the old school stuff where you shouldn't let that one go over the plate like that. That's might have where the umpire's thinking was in that situation. But needless to say, with all the technology we have, it looks like a really, really bad error by that umpire. Well, hopefully, like I said, we'll see what happens, and hopefully this continues to be a great tournament. By the time this podcast drops, we'll know the winner of Italy, Venezuela, and then next time we talk, we should have a winner from the WBC. So it's been a blast, and I've really enjoyed talking about it.
All right, Crowley, how about some upcoming Cubs games? A game under the lights because it's going to be very hot in Arizona, right?
Too hot, 105 over there. I know my friend Steve Shares listening, and Mesa's been kind of wild over there. But, yep, you can watch and listen. The Cleveland is going to have the call tonight. So if you have MLB Network and you have or if you want to listen to the game day on the audio, you can do that. And then on March 17th, Tuesday, against the Los Angeles Angels, 104.3 The Score. We'll have it on 104.3 FM.
Nice.
And then Wednesday, March 18th, against Arizona. We'll have to see if Arizona is going to be covering that. Hopefully they will. Usually the home team will have the radio call at the very least, so that'll be good. And then, Dustin, we have an off day on for Thursday, and so that's when we can meet up again and kind of talk about everything that's been going on.
Well, that's a wrap, Crowley. Don't forget to listen, down the review, subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. Email us your thoughts or questions, Crowley'sClubhouse@gmail.com. Are you sick of the Cubs not taking games against the White Sox seriously? And you can watch us. That's right. You can watch Crowley and I do this by subscribing to the Crowley's Clubhouse YouTube channel. Crowley, enjoy the games. I know you will. And we'll get back together on Thursday.
Yep. And thanks for everyone for listening, watching, downloading, all that stuff. Tucker sucks. I think we know how he feels about Kyle Tucker. Says rap, steal, and bubble wrath. And then Steve Scher, if you're not online and paying attention, you'll miss the puns. Italy attempting to achieve the impassable pasta in quotes there, but a lot of fun. Let's hope the best for Seiya Suzuki. Let's kind of get some wins here. I'm looking for Cade Horton tonight to have a big bounce back. That's why I'll be watching along. I got the 2 TVs, one for Italy and one for the Cubs. But either way, let's get some wins. Go Cubs!
It's all over.